The Less 5150 podcast begins now. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 19. We're going to start something new on the podcast starting once a month. I'm going to cover a musical artist or an album or a movie or a TV show or something, a sports team or a game, something of that nature that, just means a lot to me and somehow inspired me. And so tonight we'll be starting that, and that'll be later on in the podcast. We'll be getting to that later on. But first, let me welcome everybody. Hope everybody had a great weekend. It's episode number 19, and we're just steamrolling right along, man. We're having so much fun on this podcast. Hey, and thanks to all the new followers, man, and all the nice things you guys saying. Really appreciate that. What happened over the weekend? My Broncos lost, man. Heartbreaking. But you know what, though? Unlike college, you can afford to lose a few games in the NFL, and you can still go to the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying Denver's going to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying theoretically you can still go to the Super Bowl. College, really, a lot of people say you can lose 2 games. In college, you usually lose 1 game, and you're done. You're done. Florida State, man, I love them. Our season's not looking too bright. We beat Miami off a blocked field goal, but I mean, the season's over. I mean, they might climb up a little bit, but, and I don't think they suck. I just think we got a younger team. We got a young quarterback, talking about Florida State. But back to Denver. Well, we switched up to college for a second. I don't know why I did that. But anyways, Denver just looked, I don't know, man. It's either Denver just didn't play that good or Atlanta's just that good. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not taking anything away from the Falcons because they're a good team, man. I mean, they put up a ton of points on Carolina, but Carolina's losing right now to Tampa Bay 3-0. Come on, people. Carolina's not all that. They got a Super Bowl hangover big time. But, Denver our defense looked they just look tired at times. Offense, Paxton Lynch is just, we need to work with him a lot more. You know what I mean? He needs to be worked with a lot more. Let's get Trevor back in there. And man, hey, first of all, I want to say, Coach Kubiak, I hope you're doing well. I hope everything's okay. They said extreme migraine. He's not going to coach Thursday night. So I really hope, Kubiak, I hope you're doing good. I hope everything's okay. I hope it's not too serious. And can't wait to see you back on the field. But anyway, Thursday night we'll play the Chargers. What else happened over in the NFL this weekend? Let's see here. The Cardinals beat the 49ers. Redskins with a win over the Ravens. And, of course, Tom Brady making his big return against my buddy's team, the Browns. And, wow, did Tom Brady make up for missing 4 games? 33-13. Yeah, all right. You know what? It was going to be ugly for no matter who the Patriots played. That first game, I think any NFL team would at that point would have been like, do we really have to play them? Can we just say we just take a loss? And because you knew he was going to win. I mean, if he would have lost, it would have been bad news for Patriots. But I didn't have any doubt they were going to lose. Lions with the win over the Eagles. Colts beating the Bears. The Bears. Titans with the win over the Dolphins. Man, you know what? The Dolphins is not that bad of a team. They're really not. I mean, they've had some close games, except for the Titans. Anyway, here's shocker. 31-13, the Vikings with the win. Man, the Vikings looking good. They're looking strong. Steelers beating the Jets. Of course, we just talked about the Broncos losing. And the Cowboys. 28-14 over the Bengals. My boy Rusty's team. And you know what, man? I was just talking to him on the phone this morning, talking about Rusty, and we're talking about the Cowboys. And I'm like, Jerry Jones comes out and says, Tony Romo's still our guy. And I'm like, okay, I understand, like, you've got a lot of money in him and stuff like that, but Prescott's not doing bad at all, dude. Just leave him in until he screws up. And then if I was Tony Romo, I'd say, listen, why don't we let me get healthy? Because I've had some issues over the years. Let me get healthy, take a little extra time off. and let the young man keep going. Now, if he starts to struggle and you got no choice, you got to put you got a situation where you got to pull a quarterback. That's cool. That's different. But Prescott's been looking pretty good, man, to be honest with you. So I say leave Prescott in. Romo, get the healing yourself, man. Get the healing. The Bills with the win over the Rams. Raiders with the win over the Chargers. So that goes into Thursday night game. The Chargers and the Broncos both coming off a loss. But somebody's gonna be looking for a little revenge here. And the Packers with the win over the Giants. And of course your bye teams were Seahawks, the Chiefs, Jaguars, and the Saints. And like I said, Thursday night kicks off with the Broncos and the Chargers. But anyway, that's over on the NFL side of things. Let's switch over to film, TV, and movies. What's going on? The Ranch. Do you guys watch that show on Netflix? Ashton Kutcher's in that show. And, oh man, I can never remember his name. The guy from that 70s show, curly-haired guy with the glasses. I can't remember. Oh man, it kills me. I can't think of his name. But anyway, The Ranch is a funny show. I love that. And you know what's funny is Ashton Kutcher's character is a quarterback, played college ball for Florida State, and I'm a huge Florida State fan, and they live in Denver. So it's kind of like I'm a Florida State and Denver fan. So that sold me right just on that aspect. I was sold. So it is a funny show, though. So The Ranch started back on Netflix. Also, Supergirl premiere started tonight, the 10th. Yep, tonight's the 10th. Supergirl, and apparently Superman is going to be showing up in that show. The new Flash started back up as well. Episode 1 got Kid Flash in there. I haven't watched it yet. I'm behind, I know. I got to catch up. I tell you what, I did watch parts of the Suicide Squad again. And that movie is just so good. I don't see why that movie got so much hate, man. I like that movie. It's a good movie. Harley Quinn's character. That girl nailed it. Anyway, jumping over to video game side of things. What do we have tomorrow coming out? WWE 2K17 for all you WWE fans out there. More than likely, I'll be streaming it. More than likely, I'll be doing my thing with the WWE over twitch.tv/Les5150EVH. Come hang out and check it out. I wasn't going to get it, to be honest with you, but that's the game that kind of got me started in all of this. If it wasn't for that one game, I would have never had a YouTube channel. I would have never had a podcast. I would have never had a Twitch channel. I mean, that is just like that started the ball rolling for Twitch, and then I started venturing out and doing other things. So I have to be honest with you. Right now, out of all three platforms, I enjoy the podcast the most because it's different. And I really, because I feel like I could do what I know this is probably going to sound, I could do what I want. If that kind of makes sense. I could talk about things and, if I want to talk about the iPhone 7, or if I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, if I want to talk about the Broncos or Astro Gaming, or, I just feel a little more freedom on the podcast. And because on Twitch, you kind of keeping it, to the source of what you're doing, even though we kind of get off subject sometimes. But nonetheless, I love doing the Twitch and the YouTube, but the podcast is my favorite right now. I'll be honest. I love the podcast. But, okay, so what we're going to start doing is once a month, we're going to start a series and talking about like a movie or a TV show or a song or an album or an artist that's really just kind of like something that kind of made a dent in my life. And starting tonight, we'll be talking about an album that means a lot to me. Kind of changed the way I listen to rock and roll and stuff. And what we're going to be talking about is the album Pump by the band Aerosmith. Now, what can I tell you about this album? Why do I love this album so much? Well, first, let me just give you just the general stats. The album was released September 12th, 1989. It's the 10th studio album by Aerosmith. And the lineup at the time was, and I say at the time because they did have a lineup change at one point in time. The lineup is the traditional Aerosmith lineup. Steven Tyler vocals, Joe Perry guitar, Brad Whitford guitar, Tom Hamilton bass, and Joey Kramer behind the drums. Wonderful album from start to finish. When I listen to the album, I kid you not, 9 times out of 10, I listen to it from front to back. I listen to it all the way through. And there are times I will listen just to the first 2 tracks, but I usually just listen to them together, like Young Lust, and it goes into f.i.n.e. But majority of the time I'll listen to the album all the way through, and sometimes I'm listening, but I'm kind of off doing other stuff, so I'm really not listening, but it's playing in the background. There's very few albums I listen to all the way through. There's a handful of them. But this is one of my favorites because it reminds me. One of the reasons I love it so much is listening to it as a younger man. Back then, on cassette tape, was the first time I ever had it was on cassette tape. By the way, it reminded me of being at a concert because it kicks off really strong and hard and fast with Young Lust, and then it goes. There's this big at the end of Young Lust. There's this big drum outro thing Joey Kramer's doing, and it goes right into f.i.n.e, and the guitar's cranking up, and Tyler's doing this like growl thing, and it kicks right into that song. Then it has like a slight little intro into Love in the Elevator where Steven Tyler gets on the elevator and she's telling you what's on the floor, and she's like, "Ooh, Mr. Tyler going down," and he's like, he does that little laugh like, and then it kicks into Love in the Elevator, and it's like a concert, man. It's like a concert mixed with a little bit of, I call it, at the time, it was the ultimate MTV album. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way, but you got to remember when I was growing up, MTV was cool. MTV, everybody watched MTV. And you watched for your favorite videos. And Aerosmith had a ton of them. They had Love in the Elevator. Janie Got a Gun. That video was wow. That was definitely on the other side. No pun intended. That's another song on this album. And then What It Takes. And this is the first album where I believe they were all clean, kind of like Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood, because I believe, and I'm reading a quote, and the reason I say that is because I just read a quote, because it says in the 1989 MTV special entitled Aerosmith Sunday, Brad Whitford explained the album title with "Now That We're Off Drugs, We're All Pumped Up." Which, okay, I can believe that. But knowing what majority of this album is about, it's about sex and drugs. And then I look at the album cover going, Pump, come on, man. I know what that is. Now, you could tell me all day. But listen, as much as I've listened to interviews with Steven Tyler and the rest of these guys, come on. You know what this album's about, man. You know what the album cover is about? Come on. I'm trying to keep it family friendly, but come on. You can't fool me. All right. So anyway, I love listening to the album. Let me tell you, this album was produced by Bruce Fairbairn. If you don't know who that gentleman is, he passed away in 1999. He was a wonderful producer, man. And he produced some of the biggest rock albums and some of the biggest songs you have listened to a lot of songs he's produced, I promise you. Whether it was AC/DC, Van Halen, Bon Jovi, gee whiz, who else? Of course, Aerosmith. I can't think of everybody right now. I mean, there's just like a ton of bands. Everything this man touched turned into a hit. And I've heard the same story from a lot of different musicians. Is they love him at first when they start working on the album, and as the process goes on, they start to hate him, and by the end of the album, they can't stand him. But they love to work with him. And I've heard that from a couple of different artists who said that. And I don't think they hated him. I just think they just hate that he's so hard on them. And, I think it's explained best in the DVD documentary for this band, or VHS documentary, whatever you got. Making of Pump is Joe Perry says, because he's coming in and he's taking something that you created, and it's like your child, And he's coming in, he has no attachment to it. And he's coming in like, hey, we need to do this, 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 and this, and cut that, and do this, and put this. And I can understand being a guitar player and being a musician. Somebody comes in and telling you how to play something, you're just like, no, that doesn't sound like what I want it to sound like. But you listen to them because sometimes being on the outside looking in, you can see something that you're not seeing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what Bruce was so good at, was hearing something going, no, we need this. And if you listen to all the songs he ever produced or albums he's produced, they're wonderful and they're full and they just rock hard. And it reminds me of being in the studio, and I thought I was playing something correctly, and then the guy behind the board is like, no, let's do this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm doing it this way forever. And everybody's just kind of looking at me because I didn't want to budge. And then he pointed out to me, I did it, and going, listen to it and go, oh, yeah, well, that does sound better. So that's my little story tied in. That's why I told that story, because I can relate to when Joe says that in the documentary of that, Making a Pump. I understood, like, okay, I get it now. I get it now. But if you watch the making of this documentary, of this album, watch it, because to me, it's kind of like, it makes the album that much better to me. Because you watch them from, the album, the documentary starts off when they're messing around on the keyboards and the guitar. They're writing "Love in an Elevator," and it's great, man, to see like a song like that. That is like, there's a lot going on in that song. Horns and guitars and drums and vocals and backing vocals and all that. And to see all that, it starts off with just Stephen and Joe Perry sitting in I don't know, it looks like in a basement or something, and they're just kind of da na 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 na, and they don't even have lyrics at the time. They just kind of have this melody in their head, and da na 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 da na na, and then you see it all come together, and it's just cool to see that, because you don't get to see that much anymore. The documentary and how an album was made. And I think that's what makes this album so much more special to me, is watching a documentary with it and then seeing these songs created from, just little riffs and putting them together, and bam, next thing you know, they got a full album full of hits. By the way, real quick, the album I believe it went 7 times platinum. It's not bad. Not bad. My kid, that's pretty dang good. You know what I'm saying? They won a Grammy Award for Janie's Got a Gun. Several hits off of it. Love in the Elevator, f.i.n.e, Fine, Janie's Got a Gun, Monkey on My Back, What It Takes, The Other Side. They were all pretty big hits. The Other Side was a #1 hit. What It Takes was a #1 hit. Monkey on My Back, I think it peaked at number 17. Janie's Got a Gun, of course. No, this is the one that kind of blew my mind. This is #2, hit #2. f.i.n.e, Fine. I say that because if you understood what that song title stood for, you'd say it too. And then he says that in the song, f.i.n.e, Fine. But anyway, Sidetrack was at 14, and Love in the Elevator, #1. So he had a bunch of hits off this album. Like I said, some of those songs aren't even my favorite. I will tell you, my favorite songs off this album is Voodoo Medicine Man, Don't Get Mad, Get Even, and Young Lust and Fine. I love those songs. And I know majority of the lyrics to these. And it's one of those albums I know a lot of the lyrics to. And there's not a lot of albums I can say I can listen to from start to finish in one sitting and not complain, or like, okay, let me just listen to this song and move on. Like 1984 by Van Halen is one I can listen to all the way through. And there's a couple other ones. But I remember the first time we got this was on cassette tape, and we had a little cheap boombox and we played it. And I remember on What It Takes, my brother accidentally hit the record button, and you can hear one of us, I wish I could find this tape. You could hear one of us screaming, "Stop!" And we hit the stop button. And so, like, in the middle of What It Takes, it's like you hear us screaming, "Stop!" And so, like, when I got the CD later on in life, and I'm listening to the album all the way through, and it gets to What It Takes, and it gets to, I remember the exact part where it happens, and then listening to that album without that part in it was like, oh, okay, so, well, I kind of missed my brother recording on that, but so yeah, that's how much we listened to that album. That should tell you that album was always in the boombox. It's a great album, man. And one thing is that a lot of people don't realize that Brad Whitford is a phenomenal guitar player. He is phenomenal. I love that dude's style. I've seen him live several times with Aerosmith, of course. And I've seen him jamming with Joe Satriani and Chickenfoot up in Charlotte, North Carolina one time. But that's a different story I'll tell another day on a rainy day. But the album, the whole CD is great. It is just, man, it's totally different than what was coming out at the time. You had Bon Jovi and Poison, and this album kind of came out at the end of the '80s, because you're going in the '90s, and Nirvana and Soundgarden starting to come around at the end of. See, this album came out in September, so probably going right into '90, and you had all the I guess the grunge thing coming out, but yeah, so great album, start to finish. And I'll be honest, this was probably, I heard Aerosmith songs before, but this was probably the first album I really got into. And I remember we got Permanent Vacation also, and some of the older albums, and I was like, I love Pump, but then the other albums are great. It had some really great songs on them. And the album that follows this one is Get a Grip, and that's probably my second favorite Aerosmith album. Those are two of my favorite Aerosmith albums. Now, I like the older stuff, don't get me wrong. I love like songs like Chip Away at the Stone and Dream On. Of course, who doesn't love that song? Such a dang good song. Toys in the Attic. I mean, there's just so many good songs from back in the early era. But this Aerosmith, if you compare this album to some of their older stuff, they're a totally different band. They sound so. I don't know how to. I don't know how to. This is a totally different album, and it's like a hard rock live album, and it's not live. That's the thing. But it reminds me of listening to a concert, because you come out with the banger Young Lust, you go right into Fine and Loving an Elevator, Monkey on My Back, and then Janie's Got a Gun. You kind of slow things down with that. And then you kind of take like a little instrumental break, kind of giving the singer time to catch his breath with Do Climber Stomp. Then it goes right into the other side. My Girl, Don't Get Mad, Get Even. And you go to Voodoo Medicine Man, which is kind of starts off slow and then it ends big. And then you go with the sing-along at the very end and tell everybody good night with What It Takes. And that is what I love about the album. It's just the way, and I don't know if they did that on purpose or if they just, like, here, let's put this song here, let's put this song here. If they actually sat down and planned it out like that. But the track listing and listening to it all the way through, it really is. It kind of starts off, working out hard, and then you kind of slow down and you get build back up into it. I just love the way the album rolls. It is I can't say this enough. Great album, man. If you haven't listened to it, give it a chance. Check it out. It's available everywhere. It actually was remastered in '01, so I think they have the remastered version. You should definitely check the remastered version out. And like I said, you can watch that documentary. It's called The Making of Pump, Aerosmith, The Making of Pump. It's real popular. I actually seen it the other day on YouTube. And I think it's like an hour and a half long or something like that. But trust me, you start watching that and you'll be hooked. But that documentary was released in 1994. I'm reading right here. The Making of Pump was released in 1994. I had it on DVD at one time. I don't remember what happened to it. I don't see it over there. But yeah, so Remember the videos? The videos like of Love in the Elevator and What It Takes. Great videos, man. Some great videos. And I will tell you, as a guitar player, I don't think I've learned some of the songs, and I've never played them for a band or anything. And I've learned bits and pieces of some of these songs, like Love in the Elevator, of course. What It Takes is pretty easy to play. But I never played them live. But man, that Love in the Elevator, there's a lot going on in that song, and I don't think I could even. I was the only guitar player in the band. I don't think I could pull that song off by myself because there's just so much going on in that song. And I think even with two guitar players, you definitely probably even need a keyboard player to pull off some of that stuff because there's a lot going on in that song in particular. But anyway, nonetheless, check it out. It's available wherever you get your music from. Give it a shot. Give it a chance. Let me know what you think of it. If you like the album, let me know what you think. What's your favorite tracks? Leave in the comment section on the YouTube channel. Or, you can tweet at me on Twitter at Les5150EVH. Guys and girls, thank you so much for listening. This is something new I'm going to start doing once a month, talking about a favorite album or favorite movie. This is kind of first time, like I said, I did edit this part of the podcast where I start talking about the album. I redid it because I didn't like the direction I was doing. So I just, always honest with you guys. Tell you if it's not a one shot. This was actually two parts. The first part, and then it leads right into the Pump album that I'm talking about. But this is something new I want to try out and see what you guys think of it. Give me some feedback. Let me know. I love hearing from you guys, and I try to respond to everybody on YouTube that I can. And if I can't, usually like if Travis is on there and the guy that edits all my YouTube stuff, he'll respond. And he goes by the name Lead Collector. So you'll see him. And I definitely like to hear what's your favorite songs off this album. If you like this album, or if you haven't, give it a listen and then tell me what you think about it. And if it sucks, hey Leslie, I listened to it and it wasn't my thing. It sucked. And, be honest, because I'll be honest. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. I should catch up with you pretty people on Friday. You guys stay cool. I'll stay Les5150. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel. It's available at Les5150EVH. You can tweet at me at Les5150EVH on the Twitter. It's been fun. It's been real. I'll catch you guys on the other side Friday on the podcast. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.